Thank you, Senator. Trying to get to another meeting. There's so much to say here. First, I want to say to everybody in this room and everybody listening, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that we're sitting here today listening and passing a bill out of committee that so many of you came out to testify against. I'm really sorry. And I'm especially sorry that the other side isn't sorry. And yes, I will politicize this bill. I'm sorry about that too, because I'm not sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry, because that is what's going on for the most part here. I want to bring some clarity to some things that Representative Biggin said earlier. This bill has nothing, what happened to the 3 children that this bill keeps being relied upon had nothing to do with homeschooling. Absolutely nothing. So for the public that don't understand, Matthew Tirado was being followed by DCF. That child was dismissed by a judge and 2 weeks later died. He had never been homeschooled. Maybe the sister was, but the Matthew Tirado was not, and that's to be debated. Let's go to Mr. S. in Waterbury. No documentation of any homeschooling. This bill would do nothing at all to change the circumstances with him. Nothing. Let's go to Mimi Torres. She was in the public school until I believe it was July 11th. The report on the judicial website said she died June 19th. I don't know, 8 days later. In August, from what I can see, the mother applied to homeschool. She died shortly after. This bill would have never done anything to change the outcome for poor Mimi Torres. Those situations are horrible. And oh, by the way, Mr. S. in Waterbury had been in the public school for, I think, 5 years. Several reports were made about him being hungry, going into trash cans and getting food. Nothing happened. Nothing. I'm sorry we're sitting here today with this bill before us, because it will be voted out of committee, I'm quite sure. I'm sorry that hundreds signed up for either oral or written testimony and you're being dismissed. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that Christine Gio, the child advocate, came out and gave false data. UConn statisticians came out later and proved her data to be wrong. I'm sorry that that happened. I'm sorry that this bill will do nothing to protect the children that they're claiming it will. I'm sorry that 38 other states have little or no homeschool regulation. 38. And our neighboring states of Vermont and New Hampshire are looking to either minimize some of the regulation they had in or eliminate it. But here we are working hard to push through regulation for what I see will do nothing to help the children that I just mentioned. We'll be the only state, and per Representative Leeper is claiming that Tennessee has a background check. I don't know that to be true, but let's say it is. So we'll be joining the ranks of reporting. Now we're going to report children that are homeschooled to DCF. I don't think homeschool's illegal, but now we're going to be reporting them merely because they're homeschooling and withdrawing their children. I guess the left wants you to believe that they must have a framework for homeschooling. We must have a framework. We must now monitor these children after decades of no regulation, where there's been no problems, no reports of homeschool kids with problems. And I've got to believe there are a few out there. I'm not going to say there's none, but for the most part, there aren't. And we're not even holding the same standard for public school children that are truant. Are they reported to DCF? I don't think so. Maybe some of them are, but there's almost 90,000 children in this state. Are they all under the watch of DCF that are truant? I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. In Section 2, lines 217 to 227, the bill says that the framework for educating a child is left completely open to the guidance that is to be developed by the Department of Education. This is totally left up the discretion of the Department of Education and will probably be changed at any forthcoming time, I'm quite sure. I'm sorry that this bill doesn't effectively even define what equivalent instruction is, because I think there's a lot of confusion and none of us really understand exactly what it means. I'm sorry that public school administrators and teachers will be compelled to oversee kids who are not enrolled in the public school. I'm sorry that school staff will have to do jobs that they were never even trained for or hired for, and that's what will happen. I'm sorry that superintendents are being ignored in their protests against the bill. I'm sorry that boards of education will have to grapple with increased budgets. We know that there's a shortage of teachers, which was in a bill earlier. We know there's a shortage of staff and paraprofessionals. We can't even address that in the public schools, and now we're going to put an extra financial cost on our towns and on our state if this bill should pass. I'm sorry that the finance boards in every town in the state will have to consider where to get the funding to pay for extra work for teachers and administrators will have to do, and for increased property taxes. I'm sorry that public schools don't have the staff or the time to find those chronically truant who are apparently being educationally neglected, or possibly even physically neglected, and no one knows. Almost 90,000 children. I'm sorry DCF funding by millions of taxpayer dollars can't seem to do their own job of following up on the children who are known to have been neglected and abused, and we're going to add this task to their list. I'm sorry that this bill treats homeschool parents unequally, differently from parents that are in public schools. That's what we're going to see here, is that they will be reported. What about all the children that are in public schools? Should we do a check on them as well?
It's true.
I'm sorry, I think today is a really sad day for Connecticut, and yes, this does seem to be very split by party. I call this the tyranny of the majority, the bullying of the majority. For the hundreds of you who testified, sent in testimony, I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative McGee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just gonna take my time a little bit with what I share, if that's okay. So number one, I want to start off by saying let's not